Beginning with number 187, it's asking what the square root of 122 is between. So here you have to know a little bit about perfect squares. So some perfect squares, for instance, if I look at 10, 10 squared is 100. 11 squared is 121. 12 squared is 144. And 13 squared is 169. So if I want to find the square root of 122, that would fit here between 11 and 12. Number 188 is asking which of these statements is true. Now for the first one, you have 1/10 squared times 4.2. So 1/10 squared is 1/10 times 1/10, which would be 1/100, and which equals 0.01. If I multiply that by 4.2, I would get 0.042. So this does happen to be my correct answer. But if I looked at my other ones, 4.2 times 10 to the third, that would move my decimal point over 3 places. So that would give me 4,200. That would not equal 420. If I look at 4.2 times 10, that would move my decimal point 1 to the right to give me 42, not 0.42. And lastly, if I looked at 4.2 times 10 to the fourth, that would move my decimal place 4 places. So that would give me 42,000, not 4,200. For number 189, two numbers are in the ratio of 3 to 1. The sum of the two numbers is 52. What is the larger number? The easiest way to approach this would be by writing an equation. I have two numbers in the ratio of 3 to 1. So we'll call one number x, and then we'll call the other number 3x, because it's 3 times the size. And I know that if I add them together, the sum is 52. So I can solve the second equation. 3x plus another x is going to give me 4x. And again, it's going to be equal to 52. I can divide both sides by 4. And x will then equal 13. 13 is not my answer, though. What is the larger number? Well, if this is x, I know the other number was 3 times the size. So I have to say 13 times 3, and that gives me 39. So my answer is A. For 190, which of the following fractions has a value between 1/5 and 4/9? It's hard to see the difference between those two unless I find a common denominator, which is 45. So 1/5 becomes 9/45. And I do this by finding the common denominator of 45, and then 5 going into 45 9 times. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 goes into 45 5 times, and 5 times 4 is 20. So I'm looking at a number that would fall between these two. So what do I have to do with the rest of these? I have to find what it would be with the common denominator of 45. So I can do some comparisons. Remember not being able to use a calculator. So 9 does not go into 45 evenly. It's a number between 5 and 6. But let's say it was 5. That would be 5/45. And if it was 6, it would be 6/45. Both way too small. It doesn't have a value between these two. Let's see, 5/45, 5 would go into 45, 9 times 3, that would give me 27. That's too big. 3 goes into 45, 15 times 2 is 30, too big. and 3 going into 45. Again, 15 times 1 is 15, which would fit in between these two. So that is D. For 191, if the measure of this angle was 60 degrees, what fractional part of the circle shown below is shaded? So a circle consists of 360 degrees, and we have a shaded part of 60 degrees. So what fraction of the circle is shaded? I can just reduce this. So if you see they're both divisible by 10, you'd get 6/36, and you can reduce that further to 1/6 of the circle. So your answer would be A. Now for 192, a recent poll showed 42% of people polled favored a new bill, 28 were opposed to it, 20% were neither for nor against it, and the rest didn't vote at all. What fraction did not vote at all? So if we add our 42%, 28%, 20%, that gives us a total of 90% accounted for out of 100%. So I can reduce that fraction to 9/10 that did vote. So what did not vote? That would be 1/10 did not vote. For 193, a child spent 40% of her allowance on soft drinks. If her allowance is $5, how much did she spend on soft drinks? So this is just a multiplication with a decimal. When we write 40% as a decimal, I move the decimal place 2 to the left. That becomes 0.4. So if I multiply 5 times 0.4, and I move the one, since I have one digit to the right of the decimal point, I move the decimal point right here. So she spent $2. 194, which is not a type of quadrilateral. So quadrilateral, quad meaning four-sided figure. Trapezoid is a four-sided figure. Parallelogram, also a four-sided figure. I can sketch these, but they're not going to be great drawings. This is maybe what a trapezoid might look like. Parallelogram, opposite sides are parallel. A square, hopefully you can visualize to be a four-sided figure with equal sides. Pythagorean is a theorem used in geometry, and it applies to right triangles and right triangles only. So this would not be a type of a quadrilateral. 195. This is talking about similar triangles. Your answer for this is A. This is a more complicated one too. You have to look at opposite sides, and this one might be easier if you visualize what the triangle looks like in two parts instead of seeing it overlapping, and then you can see the sides that would correspond. So when A is saying AD, that's this part, this side here would correspond to this side here over AB. And then they're saying equaling DE, so this would be the base of the smaller, and BC, which would be the base of the larger one. That's what they're doing. I think drawing it separately, and of course labeling it if you have time, would be the best way to approach that problem. For 196, which is following is not a prime factor of 30. If you ever had to draw factor trees where we have to break down 30. Let's say I know 10 times 3 equals 30. 3 is a prime number, but 10 I can break down into 5 times 2. So 5, 2, and 3 are my prime factors of 30. So which one would not be 7? Least common multiple of 3 and 4. If you want to list out your multiples to help you remember or to see this a little bit better, multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. The least common multiple that they both have in common would be 12 here. So 197 is A. 198, we're talking about the associative property of addition. So associative property of addition is saying that the way I group things doesn't change the sum. So how I group things, looking at my options, A, this is saying multiplication here, so it can't be A. This is just adding them together to equal 1. That can't be. I'm looking for some sort of grouping. So look at C. They group 1/3 plus 2/3, and then they have 3 here. And then on the right side, they group these two. So you're going to be looking for parentheses, grouping it differently. So C is my answer.